gratitude to the men and women who, in defense of our freedom, currently wear or have worn the uniform of the United States in peace and in war.
From the fields and forests of war-torn Europe to the jungles of Southeast Asia, from the deserts of Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan, brave patriots have protected our nation's ideals, rescued millions from tyranny, and helped spread freedom around the globe.
America's veterans answered the call when asked to protect our nation from some of the most brutal and ruthless tyrants, terrorists, and militaries the world has ever known. They stood tall in the face of grave danger and enabled our nation to become the greatest force for freedom in human history.
Members of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard have answered a high calling to serve and have helped secure America at every turn. Our country is forever indebted to our veterans for their quiet courage and extraordinary service.
Today. We are blessed, as Americans, to live in a nation gifted with rights and freedoms envied the world over. Those rights and freedoms did not come cheaply. Have you thanked the veterans today?
We flip a light switch and the lights come on. We go to the grocery store and there's food in abundance. We enjoy a bounty of goods and services unmatched in all the world. Have you thanked the veterans today?
Turn on the radio or the television and can freely and immediately access hundreds of channels of broadcast, broad-ranging, multidimensional information, commentary, and music. How do you think the veterans today?
We can worship where and when the Spirit moves us. We can choose our friends from among a myriad of cultures, faiths, and creeds. Have you thanked a veteran today?
We clash on the gridirons of 10,000 stadiums. We shoot hoops on countless basketball courts and in mighty arenas. We swing from the fences of small-town baseball diamonds and the walls of major league ballparks. We run, we swim, we exert ourselves individually and competitively in a nation where we are free as men and women and boys and girls to celebrate the independent spirit of athletics. Have you thanked the veteran today?
We have the right to vote for our country's leadership. And once they have been elected, we can publicly disagree with our leaders. Have you thanked a veteran today?
The Constitution of the United States was written by the forefathers of our country to ensure that we would have life, liberty, and justice. The Constitution provides for the common defense of our nation, but it is the veteran who at great personal sacrifice provided that defense. Have you thanked a veteran today?
George Washington said, The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation.
Quoting George W. Bush, Americans should always honor our veterans. At this moment, we especially need the example of their character, and we need a new generation to set examples of its own. Examples in service, in sacrifice, and courage. These veterans have shaped our history, and with their values, your generation will help guide our future.
Ronald Reagan said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same." Let us express our appreciation to our local veterans for their service to our country and to us. Please stand and join me in a round of applause to honor them. Please be seated. Kendall graduated from the United States Naval Academy with a Bachelor of Science degree in Information Technology. He received his commission through his alma mater in May of 2006 and shortly thereafter reported to Pensacola for initial flight training and then to Whiting Field to complete primary flight training. He completed his pilot training at Vance Air Force Base in Eden, America, earning his wings of gold in January 2008. His sea duty assignments include a tour with the Ironman of Fleet Air Reconnaissance Squadron 3 at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City, where he served as Division Officer, Aircraft Commander, and Mission Commander, and the USS Abraham Lincoln ported in Newport News, Virginia, while undergoing refueling complex overhaul as an aircraft launch and recovery officer, or shooter, boardroom officer, and B3, B4, and B5 division officer in Air Department, deploying and supporting both the USS H.W. Bush and USS Harry S. Truman, concluding with the Shadows of Fleet Air Reconnaissance Squadron 4, where he served as Safety, NATOPS, and Maintenance Department Head. On June 30th, 2022, Lieutenant Commander Kendall concluded his active duty career in Norman, Oklahoma. He continued his flying career with Atlas Airlines, flying internationally on the Boeing 777. At present, Jonathan continues to slip the surly bonds of Earth while happily flying for Delta Airlines out of Atlanta, Georgia. Lieutenant Commander Kendall's personal decorations include the Navy Commendation Medal, Air Force Commendation Medal, Navy Achievement Medal, Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal, and various other service and unit awards. Please welcome Lieutenant Commander Kendall to the stage.
Good morning. Good morning. That is awesome. I am excited and humbled to be here. Ms. Kiner didn't warn me how hard it'd be coming up here to talk after getting all emotional from the choir ensemble, the video, and stuff like that. So bear with me as I struggle through this. So by a show of hands, who in this room knows someone who has served in any of the military branches? That is absolutely phenomenal. If you have a chance, thank that person that you know. So the biography kind of went through my military career. I'll show you a video here in a moment. A little bit of my backstory of what got me into the military. I grew up in Idaho Falls, Idaho, just a few miles away. And when I was 17, my father, who had served in the Vietnam War, passed away from cancer. And unsure of where I wanted to go in the world, if I wanted to go to college and study, or what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, I figured it'd be a good idea for the Navy to tell me what to do. So I made a decision, I enlisted. Initially, I was going to be a nuclear engineer. And then I had an opportunity to go out to William Penn University in Iowa and start my education under an enlistment program. I thought the college thing was pretty cool, and so I applied to ROTC, the Naval Academy. And I first got my rejection letter from ROTC, and thinking that there's no hope I was going to get into the Naval Academy. About 3 months later, I finally got accepted, and that's where I went and spent 4 challenging, rewarding years out of Annapolis, Maryland. From there, I started my flight career. You heard a lot of what I did. My family moved about 5 times in a 6-year period. I served in, Pensacola, Florida, Suffolk, Virginia, Nebraska, Oklahoma 3 times, moving all around the nation. I had the opportunity to fly around the world, be on submarines, be in helicopters, launch and recover jets off aircraft carrier, train with the Marines, train with Special Forces, and lead a bunch of amazing sailors. With all that being said, there's nothing in particular that's special about me. Everyone in this audience has an opportunity to do exactly what I did. And one of the reasons I'm so humbled to be here today is I've already had the chance to meet a lot of veterans who went before me. And everybody who went before me, everyone who has made that choice to serve a higher purpose, and all those currently serving, they're the ones protecting our freedoms, and I thank them for that. So I want to start by showing a video, a little bit of my journey, some of my challenges and cool times I've had. So if you want to go ahead and play the first video of my journey. So from the time I enlisted to the time I got out, it was roughly about 20 years. And I walked away with thousands of memories that there's no way in a given day I could share all those memories. But the strongest memories are always the brothers and sisters that I served with and served for. The sailors that I helped, the quality of life changes that I helped them make in their lives, and watching other people succeed. So there's a few other people that I want to introduce you to. I love history. The first person is General James Jimmy Doolittle. You probably heard that name, Doolittle Raid. So following the devastating attack in Pearl Harbor, America needed to demonstrate that its spirit wasn't broken. And so then Lieutenant Colonel Doolittle, along with a bunch of aircrew, took off of a single aircraft carrier in the Pacific northwest area of the ocean with 16 B-25s. And they took off knowing they wouldn't have the gas to make it back, that they would hopefully end up somewhere in mainland China, and then they would be able to evade enemy forces and make it back home. Of the 16 B-25s that launched and attacked mainland Japan, 14 crews returned. The fact that they were able to take off and provide that the American spirit, fighting spirit, could not be diminished, and now knowing they not return is a demonstration of amazing sacrifice. Mary Edwards Walker, Oswego, New York. During the Civil War, she was one of the very few women in the entire nation who was a surgeon. And she was turned down time and time again by various leadership to be able to serve the Union at the time. And there was one doctor who said yes. And so she spent her time traveling, following Union troops, and healing both the Union and Confederate side, no matter who needed it, and providing much needed care for military and civilians. Down closer to Georgia, she was actually captured by Confederate forces and held as a prisoner of war, after which she couldn't practice because of issues with eyesight from her time as a POW. What's amazing about her is to this day, she remains the only woman who has ever received the Medal of Honor. Julia Parsons from North Hills, Pennsylvania. She began her life as a quiet English teacher. And she pretended to be a native Okie and traveled down to Duncan, where she met her future husband. And following it, she was one of the thousands of women who volunteered their time to break the Japanese codes. And it's because of her efforts and the other thousands of women that allowed U.S. forces to understand what the enemy was doing and be able to succeed in World War II. Captain Jerry Coffey, who I had the opportunity to hear from at the Naval Academy. Captain Jerry Coffey was a pilot, and while flying a reconnaissance mission over Vietnam, he was shot down. He spent 7 years and 9 days as a POW in Vietnam. And despite torture, he spent about 23.5 hours in a 4-foot by 4-foot cell for that entire duration. One of the most amazing stories he shared was every night he would tap out a code to reassure everyone else that was also imprisoned with him, also being tortured and also being hurt every single day to try to break the American spirit. He tapped out RETURNWHONOR, return of honor. And that was his message at the conclusion of every evening. Captain Joseph Rochefort, he was the lieutenant commander in charge of the Enigma codebreaker machine. And despite a lot of adversity from leadership, him and a bunch of other codebreakers were able to send kind of a false code and identify that Midway was a target of Japanese forces. And despite overwhelming odds, U.S. forces were able to disable 3 and sink 3 and badly damage a 4th carrier. And this was the beginning where the U.S. was able to turn the tide of war in Japan. Another leader that I had the opportunity to hear from, Captain Brian Contosh. He was a Marine, and while advancing towards Baghdad, his forces were overrun in an ambush. And there was a tank convoy ahead of him where he was taken ahead. And so he directed the driver to turn directly towards a trench where there was rocket pellet grenades, machine guns, and enemy forces ambushing his men. So he drove right to the trench, he crashed in the trench, and immediately exited his vehicle. And with his M16, he cleared 300 meters of that trench. And when he ran out of ammunition M16, he picked up various weapons and stuff like that that the enemy had led. And if it wasn't for his efforts, there's a strong chance that every single person that he was with would not have made it home. Another person, an Oklahoma native, by the name of Master Sergeant Earl Plumley of Clinton, Oklahoma. He started out as the Oklahoma National Guard. He also served time in the Marine Corps. During Operation Enduring Freedom in Ghazni Province, Afghanistan, he was in a forward deployed complex. And without no warning, terrorists breached one of those walls of the complex. And despite overwhelming odds, he and 5 other men went straight to where the breaching wall was. And en route, the driver and several of his men were hit. He used his own body to shield the men that he was with, and then alone, he advanced, and he alone repelled that invasion, and they were able to prevent the complex from being overran. These stories and the stories of every veteran in this audience, some of whom I've already had the opportunity to speak with, are really important to remember. By remembering and telling these stories, we honor those who made a choice to serve a higher calling than ourselves, even if that meant giving the ultimate sacrifice. It's a reminder that the freedoms that you and I enjoy every day are hard fought for and are only preserved by making that choice and by trusting future generations to carry that torch. But I believe that the most important thing to remember is each and every one of us, myself included, we walk among giants. We walk amongst people who have made that choice, who have served, some of which knowing whether they make it home or not, both in peacetime and in conflict. As we remember and thank all those who have served and continue to serve, remember that each and every one of you, everyone in this audience, has the opportunity, capability, and capacity to become giants yourselves. That's not some sort of recruiting pitch to join the military. All it is saying that each and every one of you can make a choice to serve a higher purpose, a higher calling, something to go beyond yourself. And by doing so, and choosing to dedicate yourself to the freest country in the world, by serving your community, by serving your family, every one of you could become giants. So, my challenge to you, and the things I want you to remember most out of all the words I've said, are twofold. First, thank a veteran who sacrificed for your rights by not only saying thank you, but also making choices in your personal life that honor their sacrifice. Second, never underestimate yourself. Never underestimate your ability to make a difference in somebody else's life, a difference in your community, or a difference in your country. Every one of you are important. Never be scared to make the right choice, even when making the right choice is the hardest thing to do. Douglas MacArthur, who was a famous general who served in World War II, he said, duty, honor, country. Those 3 hallowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, and what you will be. Today, you've already seen some amazing presentations. I want to thank the choir for doing some amazing rendition. And I want to thank the leadership of your school and the city for the amazing support you provide for the veterans. It is truly humbling and emotional to be here. And this is such a fantastic thank you to veterans. And with that being said, go ahead and please play the second video.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I say your name. Do solemnly swear. To support and defend. The Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And to bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. That I will obey. The orders of. The President of the United States. And the orders of. Those officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. The armistice that began on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month. The timing of this holiday is quite deliberate in terms of historical fact. But somehow it always seems quite fitting to me that this day comes deep in autumn, when the colors are muted and the days seem to invite contemplation. It is, in a way, an odd thing to honor those who died in defense of our country, in defense of us, in wars far away. The imagination plays a trick. We see these soldiers in our minds as old and wise, but most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. In memory of those who gave the last full measure of devotion, may our efforts to achieve lasting peace gain strength. Let us make a vow to our dead. Let us show them by our actions that we understand what they died for. Strengthened by their courage, heartened by their value, and born with their memory, let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will guide our country and all who serve it. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
All right, out of curiosity, are there any Boy Scouts of America or Scouts that have either been in Scouts or currently in Scouts in the audience? You can throw up a hand if you have been. So one thing that I thought was really cool, my stepson, for his Eagle Scout project, he interviewed dozens of World War II and Vietnam veterans in nursing homes. And he compiled their stories and he published a book. He sent a copy to the Advanced Air Force Base historian as well as the Library of Congress. And what I thought was really cool about that is there are 66,000, roughly 66,000 World War II vets still living. There's about 1 million Korean War veterans still living. And there's about 6 million Vietnam veterans. And as the years continue, those numbers dwindle. So if you know a veteran, if you have a veteran in the family, one thing that I'd encourage you to do, and if they're willing to, talk to them, write down their stories, because that story is part of your family story. And by doing so, you're preserving their memory. And even when the day comes that they may not be with us any longer on this earth, that their story remains, their sacrifice remains. And every Veterans Day, every Memorial Day, you can remember them and you preserve your family history. So to all the veterans, to all the giants in this audience, thank you for serving. To the families that supported them, thank you for supporting them. The future of our country, the future of our military service lies in this room with each and every one of you. In this audience, I see future giants. And the future of our nation is completely dependent upon these younger generations to pave that path, preserve the freedoms, and protect our rights. And looking out this audience and enjoying this assembly, I am very, very optimistic and pleased with what the future looks like. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for giving me your time, and happy Veterans Day.
Lieutenant Commander, appreciate you today. What a great presentation, and thank you for your service. I'm Kyle Reynolds, by the way, proud ceiling superintendent, proud veteran. I have a question for you. I was driving in this morning and I heard a talking head on the radio, and he said, with a lot of conviction, he said, I can't believe that not every school in this country is out today, out of school to observe this holiday. And it made me think, we're in school today, are we doing the right thing? After this, wow, Ms. Kiner, choir, all the students, all the staff that put this together and made this happen, wow. A round of applause for our students, Ms. Kiner. I'm convinced that this is where we need to be today. Should we turn school out, send our kids home to play video games and mess around all day, or should they be here observing one of the most important days of the year, Veterans Day? I'm like Lieutenant Commander, it was an honor to serve, and I think one of the things you get out of it, I don't know about you, Lieutenant Commander, but it turned me into a better man, and by extension, made me a better husband, made me a better dad. So it's a great opportunity for us. To all the veterans here, we thank you for your service. The last thing I have for the students here today. I started here about August 15th, and every single day that I've been here and every single ball game I've been to, I've been wearing something every time. And I doubt that anybody ever noticed it, and nobody's ever said a word about it. And it's a little bracelet I wear. It's a little rubber bracelet from Valhalla. It's a great organization, and it has a simple phrase on it. It says 22 a day. Does anybody know what that means? 22 veterans commit suicide every day. So my point in telling you that is to think about this as you walk out of here today in honor and remembrance of Veterans Day, that our veterans wear the mantle of responsibility to defend our nation. We bear the responsibility of taking care of them when they get home. 22 a day, there's more that we can do. So in a minute, we are going to retire the colors, after which, for our veterans and families, we have refreshments out in the lobby, and then everybody will be dismissed to go back to class. So let's retire the colors.
would like to say, if you are a veteran here today and your face is not on our video, would you please send me your picture? And Mrs. Tola will make sure it's added. I see a few of you that your face is not on there. And so I just need a picture and your details of your service, and you can send it to the school, or you can send it to me, and we'll make sure you're on there. Thank you so much. We love you and appreciate you.
Thank you, veterans. Again, there's refreshments out in the lobby of the hallway, and teachers, you can dismiss your students.